Since I don't want these videos to get too long, I broke it up into 3 instead of 2, so it may be labeled incorrectly in the Google Classroom. Last step that you're going to do on this is you're going to double and triple up the line that goes around the outside. Actually, I like to do about 4. This style of cartooning is actually referred to as coloring book style cartooning, as will become evident in a couple of minutes as soon as you start seeing some of the details of this as I beef up the lines around the outside. So I'm just going to go ahead and start darkening in all of this. You'll forgive my banter as I draw this, but I like to talk while I'm doing this. I've gotten in the habit of doing this specifically for these types of videos, of which I'm starting to do several per week for both my drawing class, which is what this class is from, and also for the digital art class I have. So I have quite a few lessons that I've done for my students in my digital art class as well. And in that particular class, it's kind of interesting because one of the things that I've done is I have instructed the students, or requested from the students, as to whether or not they would rather listen to me live, walking through step by step for the whole class, or if they would rather put some headphones on and watch the videos themselves and learn at their own pace. As you might imagine, based on what you know about kids these days, most of them prefer to watch the videos and learn that way. So students can work at their own pace, and those students who are having difficulties, it frees me up to work with them individually on their challenges that they're having with whatever we're drawing or whatever we're doing in the digital art class. Curious thing about a lot of my students in the digital art class is when they have challenges, oftentimes I'll tell them, "So did you watch the video?" And they'll go, "Oh yeah, watch the video all the way through." "Really? Did you watch it more than once?" "Well, no." "Okay, so the question I'm about to answer is actually on the video and it's covered very well, and I don't mind answering questions, but can you please watch the video again before I address that particular issue, because as a class we voted for you to work autonomously. So I'd like to honor that. And I'd really rather you watch the video, paused the video, so watch it one time all the way through, and then you can pause the video, do a little bit of the exercise, and then unpause the video and save your work in between each step of an application. The funny thing is, I started watching my students a little bit closer, and every one of them could honestly answer the question, "Did you watch the video?" The odd thing happened though, as you might imagine, they may have watched it, but they didn't listen to it. So now I've actually had to change the way I ask the question, and that is, did you watch the video with the audio, and did you actually stop the video at different points, do those specific sections of the video, and then turn it on again to continue the next steps. I'm a relatively new teacher, even though I'm 59 years old now, soon to be 60 in a couple of months. I'm still learning about students, and of course middle school students are a whole other animal altogether. So I find their ways of getting around completing the work satisfactorily is very comical. Now I know how Greg Evans did his comic strip Luann after teaching for, I think he taught for a few years before he did his comic strip, if I'm not mistaken. Greg, if you're watching this, you can text or email me, because you have so much time on your hand as a professional full-time cartoonist. I just don't want to get the details wrong. Okay, so one of the things that you'll notice I'm doing here is on some of the places I'm not going completely around them. Like here, there's a shadow that comes down here underneath his arm. The main thing I'm concerned with on this is what is in front of something else. So his chest here obviously goes in front of this ragged mantle that he has on, or this ragged scarf that he has on. And so I'm doing a thick line around here, which both serves the purpose of, as I said, the coloring book style, but it also shows that this object is in front of this one. On some of the lines I'm going to thicken it in, but I'm not going to do it as thick as some of the beefier parts of his anatomy, like his arm and his chest and so forth. What that enables you to do is it enables you to direct the viewer's eye to specific parts of drawings. This piece isn't as significant as this one. So again, just going around. I'm not, again, you'll hear me say this a lot, I say it in class all the time, I'm not super concerned with accuracy. So sometimes it's 3 times the thickness of my lead, sometimes it's 4 times the thickness of my lead. As long as there's a thick line all the way around the outside, that'll be sufficient for completing this project. I hope you don't mind, again, my banter on this. I do this in class the same way that I'm doing it here on this video. And this is only, I think, the 4th or 5th video that I've done for the fine art class. Most of the videos, as I said, are for the digital art class, and I use a screencast software called Screencast-O-Matic for most of my videos. I hope I can get a plug from Screencast-O-Matic and maybe get a discount on my next year's membership to them, because mentioning their product on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link to Screencast-O-Matic down below if I get a chance to. I'm really more concerned with getting all this stuff done. Today's actually Saturday, and I'm at school because I got a really cool dock camera at school that I can just plug in an SD card and do my recordings there. One other method that I've been playing around with is using an easel, like a painter's easel, and clamping my phone to the painter's easel, which I can put right on top of my drawing, above my head, and record from my cell phone, which is quite a bit more clear. I think the resolution on that camera is 14 megapixels or maybe 20 megapixels. I don't honestly remember. It is the Galaxy S9 Note, the Galaxy Note 9. So again, just going all the way around here. There's a couple of YouTube people that I watch quite frequently. There's a guy named Peter Draws. Just want to give a shout out to Peter Draws because I love his videos. And he does pretty much the same thing, just sort of banters as he draws, describes what's going on. He has quite a few videos on the various pens that he uses. But as a public school teacher, of course, I don't have that kind of budget. I don't know if he gets sponsored by Pentel or whomever he uses with regards to his supplies and materials. If anyone, like a friend of mine, used to get software donated to him because he started reviewing various 3D software programs, and companies that wanted his expertise on 3D software would send him their software for free, even back in the days when software was, for this particular software, was tens of thousands of dollars. One other thing that you might want to do, if you'll notice my hand's starting to get a little messy here because I'm moving my hand into the drawing here. Take a piece of paper and rest your hand on the paper instead. Obviously it's kind of a drag because I'm covering up a lot of the drawing when I'm doing this, so the viewers who are watching this, yes, there is a drawing under here, I'm just protecting not only the drawing itself, but also my hand from getting all that stuff on it, all the graphite from the pencil. Here again is where you can vary some of the line thicknesses. I'm going to do a thinner line on the bone that's behind this part of his wrist, or excuse me, this part of his forearm. The other thing, obviously, that you can do here instead of using this piece of paper is you can rotate your paper. So I know that sounds like a very silly suggestion, but just rotate the paper around, and then my hand's resting again on a clean part of the paper here. When I do these demos in class, a lot of times students will ask questions, thankfully, the ones who are paying attention, will ask questions right in the middle of something, and I'll stop and point out various things that we're doing and things that I'm looking for in the drawing. The main thing that I'm looking for in this drawing is that it was constructed. So I instruct my kids constantly to not erase. And whenever I hear erasing going on, I will stop the lecture right in the middle of the drawing and say, "Excuse me, please don't erase. If you erase, I can't see your mistakes and I can't help you with your drawing. And I want to make sure that you're not just copying what I'm doing, but you're actually drawing." I was hoping to get another video in today, but for the final, for a lot of students missed a couple of classes this week. I'll have to do that one tomorrow and post it tomorrow, because a buddy of mine called me up and said, "Hey, got a couple of tickets to the Aztec basketball game, and since we're in March now and March Madness is going to be coming up, I'm going to be going to the San Diego State Aztec game tonight. I don't even know who they're playing. It kind of doesn't matter. It's a free ticket, and it's time with my buddy Roger." So once again, shout out to Roger. Thank you very much. I'll be seeing you in about 20 minutes to a half an hour as soon as I finish this and post it on YouTube and on Google Classroom. For you teachers out there, if you're not using Google Classroom, I strongly suggest you use it. It has a lot of really cool features, and if you have a dock cam in your classroom like this, on the back side of the dock cam there's a place to put an SD card, and you can actually record using the SD card right on your desktop. Whether you're an art teacher, math teacher, whatever you do, any sort of lecture that you do where you use an overhead, or used to use an overhead projector. Jeepers, that's not dating me much, is it? Anytime you used to use an overhead projector, you can now record your lessons using the dock cam. We have the Promethean board is the name of the system that we're using here at San Diego City Schools, and some of the software features, it actually has a screencasting software built right into it. But this particular dock cam, it's not a great super high quality one, but it, as you can tell from the video, it actually does just a fine job for what we're doing here. As a relatively new teacher, as I said before, or probably in a previous video, I was a graphic designer for 20 years, and then when I turned 44, I was between contracts and did a lot of freelance work. I worked for a lot of companies. When I was between contracts one year, I had recently turned 44 years old and decided to go back to school to get my teaching credential so that I could teach art in high schools and, in this case, junior high. So you'll hear me a lot in my videos talk about the educational system and best practices and so forth, and using the Promethean board is probably one of the best things that you can do, and a lot of you younger teachers probably already know that. At some point, because I've been asked several times from various teachers, I will probably do some demos on various software interfacing with the Promethean board. Whatever competitors, because again, not really familiar with a lot of the other companies. I've only been introduced to the Promethean board in the last couple of years, last 10 years I should say, and I really like their system. Ties into virtually any laptop so far, including the Macintosh, and really interfaces well. So there goes another shout out. Sure hope I can start getting sponsorship money. Wouldn't that be cool? By the way, one of the things that I use as a standard disclaimer is that sometimes I say very goofy things. I'm known in my family as being a punster. In fact, for 2 years, my first 2 years at this school that I'm working at now, after having homeroom with my 6th graders, at the end of the school year they asked, hey, can we have a pun club next year? And I was like, yeah, let's have a pun club next year. So for 2 years, mostly young ladies, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, would come in at lunchtime, and we would either look online for puns that we do or ones that came up in conversation that week. As I was saying, I went back to school when I was in my mid-40s, early to mid-40s, and it took me 6 years to get through school because I was taking it at night and on weekends and also in between contracts. So from 2003 to 2005 I did all my student teaching, or all my, classroom teaching. Then I got a contract with a public relations firm for 3 years, so I stopped going to school during that time. And then I went back to school after I got laid off from that job and returned to teaching, did my student teaching, and I am now, as I said, 59 years old, and I'm just into my 4th year of teaching here. So a little bit of biography going on as I'm doing the finishing touches on this character. Not that it necessarily matters, but I don't really like dead air, as they say. I don't like empty silence. So I fill it in with that kind of stuff. Hope you'll bear with me, and if there's any information you want else, feel free to comment. As they always say, hit the subscribe button and leave your comments. I don't have any other sage words of wisdom as far as that goes, but I think it's comical how often people say that. I am not necessarily in this to build a following, but it would be kind of cool. So if you have anything you want, questions asked. I have no idea what kind of pencil this is. It says Graphic Gear 800 Pentel. It's a 7mm. One of my students actually left this in the classroom, and as many times as I've asked them to, no one's claimed it, so that's the one I'm drawing with. So that's what the finished character looks like. In the next video, which is really not part of this series, I'm going to draw a stick figure that my students are supposed to take these features and add them to that stick figure, changing the position of this character, and that will be your, I actually did it as a pop quiz in class, so that'll be their final for this particular segment of drawings.